Hi, I'm John Herrick, and I took a lift somewhere.
I know we shouldn't have to scream that we're atheists. You know, we don't have non-astrologers and all that. But with the religious people taking over the world, I mean, we can either speak up or be pushed into a corner.
I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith and unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist.
Coming at you from Jokeville, this is Left of the Valley. My name is Kevin, and when a cop asked me if I saw the stop sign, I answered yes, but I don't believe everything I read. Joining me as usual is the team that conclusively proved that Mondays are an awful way to spend 1/7 of your life. She was thinking that women should put pictures of missing husbands on their beer cans. Nancy.
And then not drink beer.
They say curiosity killed a cat, but for a while he was the prime suspect. Tyler.
Sticking feathers up your butt does not make you a chicken.
He went to a restaurant that serves breakfast at any time, so he ordered pancakes during the Renaissance. Kevin.
Hi, everybody.
Guys, welcome back. Hope you had a good week. Nancy, welcome back, too. We haven't seen you since last week.
And no, I had as they say, a prior engagement last
prior
week.
engagement.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often.
You're not cheating on us, are you?
No. No, only with the homeless.
We got lots of things to go through today, so we're going to have a great show today. We're doing the top 10 things you shouldn't say to an atheist.
Uh-oh.
But before that, let's do a bit of chit-chat. Did you guys hear about Lake Chad?
No.
Lake Chad.
Lake Chad, it's in Africa.
Yeah.
Okay. The UN warns of famine. Apparently, 3 million people right now are going to be affected very soon, caused by drought, poverty, and Boko Haram.
So what? Boko
Haram.
What's that?
Boko Haram is a extremist Muslim group. You heard them? Remember when they kidnapped all these a couple of hundred girls in Africa?
Oh yeah.
Yes. These idiots. Well, they're back. The UN says apparently they're going to need $1.5 billion to hopefully avoid this. You know what? This should be an easy thing to fix. It really should be. Considering that churches just in the U.S. make around $80 billion yearly, if these people are really trying to save the world from famine and hunger, this should be an easy thing to fix for churches in the U.S.
No. $80 billion is what you would get if you tax them. They make a lot more than that.
Yeah. So take a look at the Mormon Tabernacle choirs building there and like the big white marble thing. That money would have been better spent somewhere else.
Yeah, but isn't the complicating factor whether or not the dictator, the prime minister, or the leader of that country is going to allow that help?
Oh, I'm sure there's a whole bunch.
I would say, because I think there are some UN agencies that are welcome, and they can only do so much. So that would be, we can get it all together, which would be great.
Well, you guys remember what happened in Ethiopia in the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the Lake Chad is not in one country. It's actually at the border of several countries, Niger, Chad, and others. So it's not just one country or one specific country here.
It's devastating what's happening.
It's absolutely devastating. Like I said, if religion really wanted to save the world, they could easily fix this.
No, it was just $70 or $80 billion from the United States. No. If you actually taxed all the churches worldwide, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars, easily. Which would provide a basic income guarantee for everybody around the world.
And it's going to be very interesting to see whether the current president of the United States, who shall remain nameless, since there is an America First theme going, whether or not there would be that generous donation.
Speaking of he who should not be named,
Cheeto Head.
Good one. Good start. He stupidly said the U.S. should be, quote, at the top of the pack in nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I've heard him say that.
And this is the quote. I am the first one that would like to see nobody, have nukes. But we're never going to fall behind any country, even a friendly country. We're never going to fall behind on nuclear power. It would be a wonderful dream that no country would have nukes, but if countries are, we are going to be at the top of the pack.
It's like the arms race all over again.
Way to go to ramp things up, Donald.
He better get all that out before impeachment starts,
Just start calling him Voldemort.
Oh.
What a clown, this guy.
You posted something the other day about Uganda? right?
Uganda?
And
the Uganda minister?
The rape thing?
Yeah, well, we're not going to be talking about that today.
Well, I just wanted to... Nobody responded to my comments on your thing. All the people on your thread there were saying... Anybody who says that rape is natural is a horrible... I mean, it is natural. So is earthquake. So is arsenic. Like, this whole appeal to natural fallacy is annoying.
I think they're confusing the word natural with the word maybe willing or,
that it's a human activity.
Like natural. Anything
natural
has to be positive. Anything that's not positive is automatically not
exactly.
natural.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's not natural.
Plastic is technically natural because we are Homo
chemical
sapiens. We're
biology.
natural. We make it. So it's natural.
And on a better way to finish this, did you guys hear that they found 7 Earth-like planets?
That was exciting.
They found this 39 light years away. And this is the coincidence that they found this just at the same time that Trump just decided to become president.
I think it was 7.
Can we send him there? Can we send him there quickly?
Actually, the thing, all of us are going to move there.
I think it was 7 planets, and then 3 were... kind of in the habitable zone?
Actually, all of them in the habitable zone, according to this. They could all contain water, but 3 of them are more likely candidates. It's a tiny star, and the star itself is about the size of Jupiter. It's a tiny, cool star.
It's a dwarf star, I think it said.
Yeah, it didn't say dwarf. But anyway, the orbits are so close that if you were standing on one of those planets, you would see the other planets across the sky the same way you look at the moon across the sky. It would actually look larger than our own moon.
That is funky.
That is pretty cool. Just the image that throws in your mind is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's Star Wars, man.
So, which religion mentions that there's about 3,000 exoplanets out there? Any? No?
Which religion?
Yeah. None. They all don't know about it.
Well, hold on. The Scientologists might know because Xenu maybe forgot to mention that.
Yeah, that's kind of a good point.
I found out this week. Apparently, it's not Xenu. It's supposed to be Zemu. Apparently, it's because when L. Ron Hubbard wrote it down, it looked like an N and not like an M.
Yeah.
So apparently, it's actually Zemu.
Something about bombs and spirits and But it was interesting, the thing that you posted the other day, which is kind of common. I mean, just the whole atheist and the fine-tuning argument. It said if the Earth was 5% closer to the sun or 20% further.
That's
so you know what that means? That means if the Earth was 1, 2, 3, 4% closer, we'd be good. Or 1, 2 through 19% further, we'd still be good. So how the hell is that fine-tuning?
Yeah, exactly.
If it's 5% further, you're still good. 10%, you're still good. 15%, you're still good. 20%, we're dead.
See, the thing is that we would have developed differently if we developed on Earth.
Exactly.
For those conditions.
Yeah, that's the annoying thing is they say, if you change one thing just a tiny bit, there's no life. Bullshit. How about no life as we know it, maybe a tiny bit different?
Look at extremophiles. Like, those things can survive some pretty
and of course, us atheists are the arrogant ones to think that the universe was not created for us, right? We're the arrogant ones. Yeah, of course.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Fine-tuned for life. There's 3,000 planets and one of them has life. And like 3/4 of the water is not drinkable.
Yeah, exactly. So, my dear Nancy, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Let's do it. This day in history.
All right, here we go. This day in history, which is, I think, after all of these years, still a roundup of those events and people who altered and illuminated the days between February the 20th to the 26th. It's funny that you were talking about Scientology because February the 22nd was Celebrity Day in Scientology. What is that lady's name that was a former Scientologist?
Leah Remini.
There you go. I wonder how many celebrities are going to follow her.
She's become quite famous since she's doing that exposing on Scientology.
She's become a
She's a former Scientologist, I'm guessing.
Yes, she was also the star of King of Queens with what's that gay cat?
Kevin. Oh, really?
Yeah, she was his wife in
the hot Italian girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And on February the 22nd in 1995, a fellow whose name is Steve Fawcett landed in Leader, Saskatchewan, becoming the first person to make a solo flight across the Pacific Ocean in a balloon.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. He took off from South Korea and ended up in Saskatchewan. He was a really interesting character. His full name was James Steve Fawcett. He was an American businessman and a record setter, aviator, sailor, adventurer. He was really an all-round, can do anything, take on anything, brag about anything kind of a guy. And he set
Must have been a Trump voter.
Yeah, he was great. He set a lot of world records, including 5 non-stop circumnavigations of the Earth. He was a sailor, mountain climber. I mean, he was just everything. And a friend of Richard Branson's. They were balloon buddies.
So. You're completely obsessed with travel, eh?
Yeah.
This person walked from this point to this point. Or
it's fun to look them.
Exploration, man. It's historical.
It's fun to look them up if you want to look up, what an all-around guy, who tackles anything. Steve Fawcett's your guy.
And then he left and he said Saskatchewan is just flat.
February the 23rd is National Day in Brunei, and it was a pretty big day in history. On February the 23rd, some days just happen to do that. In 1455, the Gutenberg Bible was printed with movable type. 1836, the Battle of the Alamo. 1903, Cuba leases Guantanamo Bay to the U.S. in perpetuity. Wonder how they think about it now. And, most important of all, in 1896, the Tootsie Roll.
The Tootsie Roll.
Yeah, forget about all that other stuff. The sweet stuff's where it's at. February the 24th is Flag Day in Mexico. And here's an event that rivals the War of the Worlds. It was called the Battle of Los Angeles. And it took place from late 24th in February to early the 25th in 1942 over Los Angeles. It occurred, the interesting thing is the timing, because it occurred less than 3 months after the United States entered World War II, as a result, of course, of the Japanese Imperial Navy attack on Pearl Harbor. So on the 24th, an unknown large bright object appeared in the sky over Los Angeles. I mean, considering it's Los Angeles, you'd think that would be routine, but no. At 3:16 in the morning, air raid sirens sounded throughout Los Angeles County, and as a result, the anti-aircraft batteries went crazy. There were shells lobbing and firing machine guns. And it went all the way from Santa Monica to Culver City. So over 1,400 rounds were fired during the alert, and they really thought that there was an invasion going on.
It's a UFO.
Yeah, they thought either it was an invasion or UFO. So thousands of people saw all of the shelling. 8 people actually died as a consequence of the anti-aircraft fire, 5 from falling shrapnel and 3 from heart attacks. And really an awful event. But shortly afterward, the Secretary of the Navy said, false alarm.
Yeah.
And newspapers at the time published a number of reports and speculations of a cover-up because people weren't willing to think of it as a false alarm. And some modern days, you were talking about, Kevin, some modern-day ufologists have suggested that the targets were actually UFOs. But the U.S. Office of Air Force History attributed the event to a case of war nerves, likely triggered by a lost weather balloon. So that's the cover-up. That's the factual and the cover-up.
I think we should put a moratorium on those damn weather balloons. They seem to be responsible for a lot of death.
Yeah, but actually a movie was made by a group called The Asylum and then premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel. So the film is still around if anybody wants to take a peek at it.
What you saw here was just swamp gas and mercury. And
yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Now take a look right here. Blink.
Yeah, so that, dear listeners, brings to a close another passing parade of interesting, mundane, unusual, and occasionally bizarre events and people that make up this day in history.
Okay, what about Guantanamo Bay? I didn't catch it.
Guantanamo Bay, in 1903, Cuba leased Guantanamo Bay to the United States in perpetuity.
Meaning,
who the hell signed that deal?
Now,
forever.
I don't know whether that. I haven't read anything that said that's no longer in effect, but I don't know now with the change.
Yeah, it's like the American consulate, but where they just beat people up.
Well, we're not on U.S. land, so we can violate all the human rights we want.
We'll have to see as depending on how the relations go between Cuba and the United States.
Not going to go well. Obama was supposed to help close it down, and then Cheeto Head took over, so we'll see how that goes.
Cheeto Head.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we'll bring in a friend, and we'll do our top 10 of things you shouldn't say to an atheist.
If your skepticism is socially conscious and doesn't take itself too seriously, you might like life, the universe, and everything else.
People like Ray Comfort are fond of saying, what use is half a wing, right? Have you ever seen a fucking penguin?
Life, the universe, and everything else. Available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else.
I don't know, Zune? Is that still a thing?
Do you know where Saskatchewan is? Probably not. It's in Canada. If you do, you might know a city named Regina. In Regina, there's a studio. And in that studio, there are, at least once a month, a bunch of skeptical atheist geeks and goofballs who get together to do a podcast. We are the Brainstorm crew, and we're trying to help spread a bit of reason and critical thinking while still having fun. Never taking things too seriously, but still not accepting everything we're told. We go through different topics, exploring them in depth, and often disagreeing. We try to stick to provable facts, and we never trust in myth. That's why we say we're woo-free since 2013. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spreaker under Brainstorm, or check out our website, brainstormblog.net. I can't promise you'll always agree with us, but I can promise you'll have fun listening to us.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. All my friends are heathens.
And we're back. Now, before we bring our friend and all that, Tyler, you wanted to rant a bit about something that happened to you.
Yeah, I have a bitch fest, so...
Oh, okay. Let me get comfortable for this.
For those who have me on Facebook know that my mother has recently become a young Earth creationist.
Uh-oh.
She's getting all of her information from Answers in Genesis.
Oh, jeez.
So, I mean, I always knew that she was kind of Christian, but, didn't go to church, and she was pretty open-minded. And I've talked to her about evolution in the past before, and it was all good and fine. She just said God did it, basically, like the evolution thing. And that was fine. It's been like that for the past, 30 years of my life. But she recently moved to Swift Current, which I believe is right by the border of Alberta. It's still in Saskatchewan, technically. Anyway, so she started going to the local church, and there's a pastor there named Mike Dugay or whatever his name is. Anyways, she was gotten really involved with the church, like doing the whole nativity thing and Christmas and plays and just getting really involved in it. And she said, "Oh, you should really talk to my pastor." And I said, "Oh, I'd love to. I invite him on the show, that kind of thing." He declined, unfortunately. But she was telling me that she's going to a seminar next week, I think, by this guy named Larry Dye, like hair dye, D-Y-E. Larry Dye. the creation guy. So
oh my God! Is that just a bad pun on Bill Nye?
That's what he's called. So I looked this guy up. He's got a degree in theology and stuff, and I guess he runs some space camps for kids. He's got no science degree whatsoever. So I looked this guy up, and the typical soft tissue dinosaur, therefore the Earth is young kind of bullshit. Most people don't know. Mary Schweitzer, the one that made the discovery. Mm-hmm. She's a Christian. But she's an old Earth evolution accepting Christian. So the fact that they're twisting her shit is kind of a piss off. So I watched a YouTube video with this guy. It was probably about an hour long. And he was going on about the moon dust.
Oh, no, that's been debunked.
Okay, but not only that, but I sent my mom the website link to Answers in Genesis of the arguments creationists shouldn't use. And moon dust is right at the top.
Exactly.
Not only is this guy a quack, but he's considered a quack by other quacks.
You can't get much quackier than that.
if Ken Ham tells you not to use a specific argument, that's pretty damn bad. So I've been talking to him via email for the past couple of days, pretty much every day.
We should be playing this thing.
Pretty much. And he kept saying, there's just a difference in interpretation of the evidence, and he's sending me all these answers in Genesis links, and I basically said the difference between real science journals and creationist journals is that the creationist journals have a faith statement that says you can publish whatever you want as long as it agrees with our basic faith statement premises, which is that there's a young earth, blah, blah, blah. The Journal of Nature doesn't have that. The Journal of Science, the Journal of Cell, the Journal of American Evolutionary, whatever it is, it doesn't say, okay, you can publish whatever you want as long as it agrees with evolution. I don't think she realizes that there's that huge of a difference between those two things. Mm-hmm. It's just so frustrating. I mean, we have Christian biologists, which we've interviewed a Christian geologist. I mean, there's Christian biologists that agree with evolution. I mean, the vast majority, it's like 99.92% of biologists around the world understand that.
Your mom obviously doesn't follow the show.
No.
Of course not.
But I kind of told him that he's basically convinced me Jesus doesn't exist because there's a expert consensus, even amongst atheist New Testament scholars, that Jesus was a real person.
There isn't.
I'm not. Yes, there is a consensus.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
I never heard of this consensus.
That he was a real person.
That he was based on a real person.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, there's a difference. Okay.
We're talking like Robin Lane Fox, Bart Ehrman, that kind of thing. Anyways, it should be kind of telling that the vast majority of Christian biologists from accredited universities, like actual universities, like the universities of New York, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not Liberty University, which is basically a church. So the fact that there's Christians that accept evolution, actual experts, and the fact that there's atheist New Testament scholars that, say that Jesus was at least based on a real person should be kind of telling. So I said, well, if I use your logic, then I guess Jesus didn't exist. I should, fall into the Richard Carrier camp. He just didn't understand that this is such a small percentage of people that are just quacks. He's like, oh, well, they have PhDs. That doesn't matter.
It's not that he didn't understand. He didn't want to understand.
Michael Behe has a PhD in biology, and he intentionally got it so we could fight against evolution. He got his ass handed to him by a Christian in court. Just the idea of this type of conspiracy is ridiculous. So we went through all that, and he just kind of gave up and used the common argument, which is, if Jesus is what he said he is, then you're in spiritual danger and you're going to hell.
Spiritual danger.
I said, well, I have no reason to believe that. I've looked at the papyrus 52, 46, 48, 75. He has no idea. These people go to school to study divinity, and they just study what's in the Bible. They don't study how the Bible came to be. They don't study the manuscripts, that sort of thing. When my brother was looking at going to seminary years and years and years ago, they told him not to because he'd probably lose his faith. It always comes down to that argument, the Pascal's wager kind of deal.
Yes.
What you might be in danger. You'll go to hell. I'm like, first you have to prove that hell exists, and we kind of just came to a fork in the road and realized that the conversation wasn't really going anywhere because we have different standards of evidence.
It's like hedging your bets.
Well, and he said, what kind of evidence would convince you? And a lot of atheists I know don't know how to answer that. So I used the historical method, and I said, a lot of the evidence for historical figures, there's, contemporary is important, not anonymous is important, and not from a biased point of view. So not, just Christian sources. So give me something contemporary from a non-contemporary source, from a non-anonymous source, from an eyewitness kind of source, and he basically just said that you need faith. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, he had no place else to go.
That's it. They have nothing else.
It wasn't a conversation in his wildest nightmares he would have dreamed of having, and suddenly there you are.
Well,
trying to talk logic, and he has to go back to faith because that's all he's
and
got.
I invited him on the show, and he declined.
Of course.
Well, naturally, I wouldn't either.
Where's my chicken
position.
sandwich?
Yeah.
I need a chicken
The problem is that so many atheists just say, I wouldn't believe it no matter what, but he just kind of said, what if you're wrong kind of deal. And I sent him that Marcus Aurelius quote. You guys familiar with it?
Yes.
I read that too.
The live a good life, and if the gods are just, then they'll judge you based on how you've acted, that kind of thing. And if they're not just, then they're not worth worshiping. And if there are no gods, then you've lived a good life, you'll be remembered, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
I mean, God could have left better evidence behind. I mean, Jesus never wrote anything.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't argue this against somebody like Bart Ehrman because he has a pretty good argument as to why Jesus wasn't mentioned. But we're talking the divine Jesus here.
Yeah, Jesus could have just done something as tell us how the printing press works.
God is
and bam,
Yeah, God is illiterate.
Yeah, I mean, apparently.
If you want to convince us, why wouldn't God have given us like the Army of Darkness kind of book? This indestructible book. You light it on fire, nothing happens. That sort of thing.
Necronomicon.
I mean, I think Pontius Pilate would have become a Christian 3 days after, he ordered this guy to be executed.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, he comes back. Why do we not have anything from Pontius Pilate? So 600 years later, the Christians kind of thought of this and like, crap. So they forged the letters from Pontius Pilate and King Herod. So
it just goes to say, after 2,000 years of this supposed story, still 2/3 of the world doesn't believe in that bullshit.
It just comes down to fear. I need to believe. I need to believe in Jesus because if I don't, I'm screwed. And I agree with his socialist message. So I have invited. I emailed this Larry Dye, the creationist guy. I'm gonna phone him next week. See if he'll come on the show and kind of show him that he's using arguments, answers in Genesis says not to use. That's pretty. He's got no credentials in my mom.
We should just use a jingle like Bill Nye,
No, I can't.
Larry Dye, the creationist guy. Die.
Pardon me, Nancy?
After the conversation that he had with you, I doubt whether coming on
they won't.
with a group of us is going to sound like a great thing to do on a Saturday.
Well, no, this is the pastor, Mike Dubai or whatever. Yeah. But I want to invite Larry, the creationist guy.
No, I knew that's who he was.
Because he's making money off of it, going around doing all these seminars and the soft tissue and that kind of thing. I mean, it would be great if we could get Mary Schweitzer to come on the show, but the fact that she is a Christian and accepts evolution in old Earth and they're twisting her crap in order to support their model, that's really irritating.
Right now, we're batting about 1 for 10 of all the Christians who's invited to come on this show, and so far they're all like, sure at first, and then they just back away. So.
Well, Sawatsky was telling me, I had that debate with Zach on Chris Christensen's post or whatever. Apparently, Chris Christensen, which is hilarious. That just sounds like a Christian superhero name, It
does. He would like to bring Zach on to debate.
He is going to, but I guess Chris read my debate with him and messaged Sawatsky and said, I'm getting more nervous about debating Tyler now.
And so he should.
Anyways.
Let's bring on your friend here. Let's
Maged Soliman.
That's how you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
Let's ask him. All right. So now we got Tyler's friend that's on the line with us from Calgary, Maged Soliman.
Hi.
You want to introduce your friend?
Yeah, all right. So this is my friend Mage, as I like to call him. We met on Facebook. We were just kind of like double teaming a bunch of idiots regarding the worst arguments regarding atheism and that sort of thing. And then we kind of became friends on Facebook, and I found out he's in Calgary, and he was looking at getting involved in CFI. And as you guys know, I'm the vice president now for out here. So he's going to be in Vancouver, I think, March what, Mage?
I'm going to be there like on 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yeah, so we'll probably party, see if we can have him actually come into the show, that sort of thing.
Awesome.
Well, welcome to the show, Maged. We certainly appreciate your presence here with us.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
The interesting thing is that he's obviously a refugee. He came here...
I'm not.
Well, sort of, in a way.
Just because he's Egyptian doesn't mean he's a refugee.
Well, you came here during the whole Arab Springs thing, right?
A little bit after, yeah.
The comments of Teller, not necessarily those of Left of the Valley subsidiaries. And, I keep seeing that every show now.
That's when you became an atheist. You've been an atheist for what, 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Egypt was just torn to shit with Mubarak and all that kind of thing. So.
Yep.
And geez, I wish my friend Ahmed was here too, because he's also from Egypt and he's a good friend of mine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, Maged, if you'd be so kind, give us a brief introduction of who you are and how you came to be. Well, but not your conception story.
My mother and my father had a couple glasses of wine.
Well, I studied dentistry back at home. I became a dentist there, and I worked with dentist supply sales for like a lot of time back in Egypt. I've been Christian all my life, like hardcore evangelical Christian, who accepted the Lord, and gone to church and was devout, like spreading the good word for everyone, like regardless if it's like a Christian that I think of as not real believer or Muslims or whatever. And I was like a worship leader.
A worship leader? What is that?
Yeah. A worship leader, like I would lead the worship time with songs and, meditations and stuff like that and prayers. I had no idea. I actually organized a school for worship back at home. And I was preaching the word all the time. So I was hardcore evangelical, but I was always big on science too. So I'll try to, as I learned more about, everything like cosmology, physics, evolution and stuff like that, I started to try to compromise my view and with trying to, with cognitive dissonance, they're just trying to marry them together, accept, after a while, I dropped my literal view of the Bible, then I dropped my, if the Bible is inerrant, so I let that go, and after a while, I just started to accept that homosexuality is a real thing. It's just not, those guys are not making that up.
Yeah.
And in Egypt, nobody actually talks about it.
Oh, wow.
It's a very close community. They hide all the time. They have their own, relationships, but they can't surface because otherwise they might actually get assassinated or something. So,
is it difficult to be a Christian in Egypt?
A little bit, yeah. If you are living in Cairo, which is the capital, the acceptance of that situation is better than if you're living in the suburbs or something. That said, it's still different because you can't climb up the ladder with your efforts and being good at what you do, like your job or something, or your studies, because you always have a ceiling there.
Oh,
they won't let you grow.
Isn't it predominantly Muslim, though?
Of course.
Or no?
Yeah. 90%.
Well, I wasn't sure what the percentage was. I just know that Christians and Muslims are blowing each other's churches up kind of back and forth.
I don't. Not in Egypt. Not in Egypt.
Peaceful.
Some parts of Africa, yes.
Yeah, in Egypt, too.
Well, I don't think it's nowhere near as prevalent.
Probably not as prevalent, but it does happen. So I know the whole Muslim Brotherhood thing and all that.
How big a group was it in Cairo? Or were there several Christian groups?
How big of a Christian congregation did he have?
Yeah.
How big was your congregation in Cairo?
I would say about 10 million.
Wow. 10 million Christians in Cairo?
No, not in Egypt. In Cairo, they could be around 3 million.
Wow.
Okay,
that's huge.
What's the population of Egypt? Anybody know?
94 millions.
Holy shit, that's 3 times of Canada.
Yeah. Wow.
True. And they live only on 6% of the land, by the way, which is along the River Nile.
Oh God.
So
makes for a very tight
the size
quarters.
of Alberta. Egypt is the size of Alberta.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So did Christianity go fairly far back in your family beyond your parents? Were your grandparents also Christian?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Up to at least I know my 8th great grandfather or something. They were Christian. They founded Christian churches back at the time, in Upper Egypt where they lived.
Wow.
And Yeah, we've been an evangelical family all our lives.
Well, welcome to Reason, Maged, and I hope
Thanks.
your deconversion wasn't too hard on your family and didn't give you too much of a hard time.
Nah, it wasn't huge, no. Actually, like, my father knew just before he passed away last October, like a few months before, but I haven't talked about it for a long time. And when I came out, he was like, okay, fine, but I think you're wrong. And I was like, okay, fine. But he took it easy.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
And my mom's still, like, praying for me, I'm coding.
Yeah.
So...
Of course.
I think all of our parents are believers. My mom's a Yek. I think Sawatsky's parents are religious, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And my parents are Catholics.
Francis. Catholic is the way to go. Let's push my mom in that direction. They at least
your mom is talking about, like, flat Earth now, right?
No, just Yek, humans and dinosaurs. Ken Ham bullshit.
All right, dinosaurs.
Speaking of which, Maged, you're staying with us, right?
Yeah.
Because we're doing another brilliant moment brought to you by religion. And today, speaking of Ken Ham, let's talk about him. Oh, where is it? Where's that article? Here it is. Ken Ham. He says, apparently, atheists are insecure. And that's why they're scared of creationism in public schools.
Oh, I'm shitting my pants.
Oh, yeah.
Good one.
In a bizarre Facebook post yesterday, creationist Ken Ham argued that atheists are indoctrinating children in the public school by teaching them proper science.
Shame on us.
Teaching proper science. What do you do with that? I mean...
Tell that to Kenneth Miller and Francis Collins, who are not atheists.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, here's the post. I'm going to read the post here. This is from Ken Ham. Christians are happy to teach children regarding various views of origin, but atheists want children taught naturalism to the exclusion of all others. Atheists are so insecure that they don't want anyone seeing nativity scenes, crosses, etc., as they don't want people to think for themselves. Oh, I just love that. My children know more about evolution than most evolutionists. We're not afraid to teach them about how to understand different views. Atheists are afraid to let people be taught to think critically about origins, as people would then understand evolutions of religion. They can't have their belief critically analyzed, so they legislate to protect it in public schools. Anybody care to rebut Mr. Ken Ham?
Yeah,
I have a rebuttal.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
I have a book.
Oh, give the show to him.
You know, Ken Ham just says, we teach our kids evolution, then he puts on a fucking DVD of Pokemon. Exactly. Says, that's bullshit.
Hey, wait a minute. Are you telling me Pokemon's not real?
Well, we say the same thing. Like, I posted a thing in a group that Maged and I are a part of lizards switching from laying eggs to giving live birth. And this guy's like, oh, so that's evolution now? I'm like, yeah, small changes over a short period of time. It's not fucking Pokemon. We don't think that one day a lizard gave birth to a mammal. And that's what they think that we believe, and that's why they call it. And they're right. It would be ridiculous if that's what we believe. But it's not what we believe.
Although I'd like to have a Pikachu.
Quit hitting on me. That's perverted.
You know, their demand for like transition fossils is like hilarious. Like you could show them like basically like a pupa, a caterpillar, and a butterfly, and they still demand transition fossils.
Or a tadpole to an amphibian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they say, oh, the platypus debunks evolution.
They're willing to believe small changes, but they're just not willing to believe over time. They just can't fathom the time scale.
Micro and macro.
They're so set in that belief that nothing, is going to, suddenly make them change from, Ken Ham to Richard Carrier. It's not going to happen.
It's literally like they have their fingers in their ears and they're going, na 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 na, I cannot hear you, na 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 na.
And I want to do a really short video. I don't know if maybe we can get baby pictures or something like that of a person from a baby to a teenager to an adult to an old person. And be like, this is evolution. This is the progression. Now, if you're talking about macroevolution, that's like saying, I want you to show me a baby turn into a teenager overnight.
Exactly.
We don't
That's
believe
a very
that.
good argument.
It's just that fossils are so rare that it kind of looks that way. Like, if you go from Homo sapiens to
also
Erectus.
used sorry?
If you look at a Homo sapiens fossil and then you go back to Homo habilis, then that's macroevolution. It's the same thing as I don't believe babies turn into senior citizens because I've never seen a baby turn into a 70-year-old overnight.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Once upon a time, I was like debating a Christian about this too, and I told them that if it's just like you have a wedding for your daughter, and you brought on this photographer, and the photographer was instructed to leave at least 2 minutes of time before they took another photograph, but they ended up taking some pictures 2 minutes apart or 7 minutes apart or 10 minutes apart or whatever. And then what you tell me is that if picture number 3 and picture number 4 are not instantaneously right next to each other, you're claiming that picture number 4 never happened.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
which is stupid, right? Fossils are just flashes of, they are photographs, right? They're just
it's not a complete
photograph of a video that should have been going on.
Well, it's like Nancy's, traveling stories. I believe that humans can walk from British Columbia to Alberta, but there's no way you can walk from British Columbia to Ontario. It's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Ontario, here's our second story. Yeah, you might need help. Speaking of Ontario, here's our second story. An Ontario teacher, this is closer home obviously, faces discipline for allegedly telling students they could die from vaccination.
Oh, wow.
This is from the CBC.
For fuck's sake.
A Southern Ontario high school teacher allegedly tried to scare his students into not getting vaccinated for polio, diphtheria, and other diseases, a discipline panel of the Ontario College of Teachers heard on Tuesday. Timothy Sullivan, a science teacher, is a science teacher. And a Grand Erie District School Board is accused of professional misconduct relating to a 2015 school vaccine clinic where, according to allegations, he told students they could die as a result of vaccination.
But he doesn't have a science education. He probably has a BA in education.
At best. Quote, his behavior was confrontational and intimidating, said Christine Wadsworth, a lawyer for the college, in her opening remarks at the discipline hearing. The college alleges that on March 9, 2015, Sullivan disrupted the clinic and the high school where he teaches. The name of the school is under a publication ban in order to protect the students, obviously.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
No evidence provided.
Regardless of whether he has a BA in education or in science, it's just so unprofessional for him to suddenly express his own views, and create that kind of doubt and anxiety, in kids who are about to get their vaccinations, to scare children that way who are in his charge.
Well, Sullivan, who has said he can't afford a lawyer and he's representing himself at the hearing, is focused his defense on the informed consent required for health officials to give vaccine. He says, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I'm pro-informed consent. It's like being pro-fake news, obviously. Right. Sullivan told reporters, they make it sound like I was running around saying this will kill you. What I was doing was referring them to the product label. His cross-examination, where Sullivan went through a long list of rare side effects, including anorexia and convulsion, contained in the vaccine's product monograph, asking Swick if she informed each student of them. Okay, so this is what he was doing. He was listing, because some vaccines can have some, you can be allergic to a certain thing, and it can happen. It can happen.
Yeah, they tell you that you have like a 1 in a million chance of developing this.
Yeah.
But if you don't get it, you have like a 1 in 100 chance of getting polio and being in a fucking wheelchair.
So this guy was actually going to the students saying, hey, did you know that there's he won't say 1 in a million, but he says, did you know there's a chance you might get a heart attack from this or an allergic reaction from this vaccine, essentially scaring the students.
Exactly.
I think that's I don't know.
That's just wrong.
He's partially correct in the way that he says that he's wanting to give the information, but the way he's going at it,
he's like cherry mongering. He's like cherry picking from the CDC.
Yeah,
the CDC will tell you if you don't get this vaccination, you have a big chance of actually getting the disease that'll kill you.
And that's why healthcare professionals administer the vaccination, because they can watch for those rare side effects and they can treat it immediately.
Yeah, and you have to stay there for 15 minutes after you get it. I'm the only person in this room that has small children, so I've dealt with this fairly recently, but a lot of these people try to point and they say, oh, well, people who have had vaccines have actually gotten sick and there's been problems, so they've sued the government and they've gotten money. And I say yes.
Oh, wow.
No, it's true, though. There are kids who are allergic to these vaccines.
It does happen.
And that's the reason everybody who can be vaccinated should be vaccinated. It's called herd immunity.
What were the charges?
Yeah,
What did
absolutely.
they call the charges when they brought him up to school board?
Bullshit.
Goodness gracious. I
Yeah.
have to go through the rest of the
Bullshit.
article here.
Professional, it had
Professional misconduct, I guess.
professional. That's exactly what it
Yeah,
was.
exactly. And you know, it's a bit like a car salesman that says, you know, if you buy this car, it's great, but there is a chance you might fly through the windshield
Yeah,
and get hit by a truck.
You know,
somewhere.
some people die in car accidents.
Exactly.
So you should
Yeah.
probably. You know.
You should think twice about getting this vehicle.
You guys ever see the movie Thank You for Smoking?
yeah.
No, but I know of it.
Well,
Oh,
it
it's so
was-
good. Like, so good. Anyways, they want to put skull and bones on the cigarettes, right? And he's like, should we put skull and bones on cheese because it causes heart attacks?
Or French fries.
Or airplanes? Or like,
The sacred poutine.
just educate people. And that's what the CDC is there for. That's why we have easy to understand
I don't think he
website.
can cover. I don't think he can cover up irresponsibility by saying he was trying to tell the
Well,
truth.
and he's in a position of authority as well. He should
Okay,
just shut
exactly.
up. If he wants to start his own blog, great, go for
Yeah,
it.
he's not the nurse. He's not the doctor.
But
But you know what, guys?
A little
I'm
of
proud of what this situation came down to, because if this guy was back in my country, that would have been nothing. Like, no one will even whine about it.
That's interesting.
when it gets people killed, that's kind of my issue with this
Well, this
dangerous speech kind of thing.
This is also the problem, right? If one of those kids gets vaccinated, and it happens to be that 1 in a million kid that does get an allergic reaction, people are going to look at this and say, "See, vaccines are dangerous."
Well, I have the solution. I have the solution though, because I talked to the vaccine people like when we were getting them done. And I said, your website says, you know, if you get this vaccine, you have a 1 in 100,000 chance or 1 in a million chance of getting these side effects. But it doesn't. It doesn't say if you don't get the polio vaccine, then you have a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting polio and being in a wheelchair. They only warn you about the side effects if you get the vaccine. They don't give you the actual statistics if you don't get it. And this is why we've had measles outbreaks out here. This is why Vancouver has been labeled as not being able to achieve herd immunity.
According
Especially
to
the
Fraser,
children.
Fraser Health,
And-
all the Fraser Health region is right now, like, the people who are anti-vaxxers are contributing to, like, massive outbreaks of it right now.
So this is why I was talking to the CFI pretty recently and saying we need to pass a law that says you cannot attend like public school and daycares and stuff unless you produce your vaccination records. And I've had to do that before with my daughter, but the recent school that she went to, they didn't require vaccination records, and I was pretty pissed about it.
Wow.
They should require it, because how many kids are there that are just not vaccinated because their parents are idiots, and then my kid is basically being metaphorically shot at with bullets on a daily basis, and they're invisible. You don't even notice, right?
So Tyler, it's up to the individual school to decide. It's not a province-wide rule.
Right. There's no law that
That's
says
Fraser
you
Health
have to
doesn't have
produce your
jurisdiction over it.
vaccination records in order to go to this
Pretty
daycare.
scary.
I would have thought it would be a district-wide requirement.
Well, it
rather
should
than-
be. All the
Yeah.
idiots can stay home and homeschool. You know what I mean?
Very, very pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, moving on. Today, we are talking about the top 10. We're doing a top 10 countdown of the things you shouldn't say to an atheist. These are sentences we've all heard, and I want you guys, your information and your opinion on what these sentences are.
Okay.
Let's go into it.
Number 10.
Coming in at number 10, we have, "You're just being fooled by the devil."
First, prove the devil exists, and then I'll believe you.
Oh, well, that was simple.
Okay, next.
I would just reply with "Hail Satan" all the time.
Oh, for the love of Satan.
I'm liking this guy.
All hail Sagan.
Absolutely, thanks, man. I like you too.
You're absolutely right.
Well, I think that one's good for a laugh. You know?
Well, you know, all these are good for a laugh, but we all heard these before. If you've been an atheist for several years, you've all heard these sentences for sure. And you're right. If the devil's out there, because the devil's always that scapegoat, you know, everything that bad happens is because of the devil. Prove that he exists.
You know what my mom says?
What's that?
The best trick the devil ever pulled
Yes.
was convincing you he doesn't exist.
Yes, that's enough.
Yeah.
It's a nice. It's poetic. It's a
The
nice sort of
usual
sentence.
suspects.
But it's personifying evil. Like, you know, some guy with some brain disorder goes and kidnaps, rapes, and murders a kid, and they have to attribute it to something, so they draw a line. There's this white God, and he controls good, and then there's this black evil God, he controls... You can see how cavemen would come up with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But hey, he's so fucking intelligent. Why don't you just, like, hang out with him forever and ever, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the funny thing is, too, is especially in the Christian belief, the devil seems to be guarding the gates of hell. He's actually doing God's work. Because he's taking you to hell, and that's the punishment that God gives you anyway. So he's like his paid lackey, that's sending you there anyway.
Since we're talking to an Egyptian, are you guys familiar with the Egyptian god Pam?
Have you thought about Pam when you're baking something? When you're roasting something good, it lets a natural flavor through.
Pam.
Yeah. Is that how you pronounce it? Magic?
I'm not sure which one are you talking about.
He's the inspiration for the visual aspect that we have regarding...
Oh, you mean Pan.
Pan? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it's Pan. And it's Greek. It's not Egyptian. It's Greek.
It's not Egyptian.
I thought it was Egyptian.
No. It's a satyr of Greek mythology.
I think the Egyptian one is Set.
Set is the
Seth is the crocodile god.
The night god, right?
No.
Set,
he was the evil god.
Horus and Set.
Oh, Horus and Set.
No. The god of the dead in Egyptian mythology was Anubis. Seth was the guy with the crocodile head.
Yeah, and Horus and Set would have a fight at the end of the day. And
that's right.
I thought Pan was Egyptian.
No, it's Greek.
But he looks like Satan now. He's got the horns.
It was based, the goat thing, the whole goat thing, yeah.
And the goat and the 6-headed.
Isn't it Baphomet?
Yeah, well, it is too. I mean, there's so many freaking names to these things.
They just kind of all melt in together, right?
Okay. Right.
Number 9.
Coming in at number 9, it's just a phase. Who's been part of that one? I've heard that. I still hear that one.
No,
my folks still tell me that it's just a phase. Eventually, you'll come back to the fold.
I'm 42 and I'm still going through a phase.
Well, people use it's just a phase for just about everything.
Like Donald Trump.
It's kind of that's not really you. You'll come back to the fold.
I find it extremely condescending.
It is very condescending.
Extremely condescending. It's just a phase. You're just an idiot right now.
It's just a phase, Kev. Just let it go.
You're just an idiot right now. You're doing this whole podcast, but this is just a phase.
Mage, what color is your skin? Are you brown or black or what?
Only a blind person can ask that
question. Might be
brown,
I'm closer to being brown, but you can tell right away that I'm not like Indian or so.
Okay,
I don't know. It's weird.
I would just like to inform you that your skin color is just a phase. One day you will be clean and you'll be white.
Oh my God. The comments are Tyler, not necessarily.
Would you like us to kill him for you, like Tyler? I mean,
I'm not going to make it out of this building alive.
Said that. Actually, I would like to tell you that I hate the color of my skin right now.
Really?
I do because
you're not dark enough.
It leads to stereotyping me all the time.
Yeah.
People look at me and they think, he's a Muslim from the Middle East.
Hate the stereotyping, not the skin color.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you living right now again?
He's in Calgary.
He's in Calgary? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of creationists out there.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that one.
We'll have to introduce you to our friend Dr. Randy Tyson.
Yes, from the Legion of Region, yes.
Legion of Reason, yeah. He does a podcast.
He's right in your neck of the woods. So.
Right in the Bible Belt of Alberta, and you guys are full of creationists. I actually showed Mage the interview you did with that Alberta atheist woman. Mm-hmm. That was the very first episode I showed him, and hopefully he can get in contact with her.
All right.
Number 8.
Coming in at number 8. The fool says there is no God.
Willow, you fool.
So this one is not just condescending. He actually calls you a fool too, right? Because, it's so obvious that God's out there. Don't you think?
Well, yeah. Logically, if you're going to use God of the gaps and personal incredulity and those fallacies, then yeah, of course.
Exactly.
What came before the Big Bang? Oh, you can't answer it. God must exist, you idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Neil deGrasse Tyson had an amazing comeback at this kind of questions when he said that God is an ever-receding pocket.
Yes!
Yeah, we say that all the time.
Ever-receding pocket of scientific ignorance. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Do it, Francis. Do the mountain thing.
The mountain thing?
Yeah.
Mountain thing.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
You always say on the show, God started out on the mountains, and then
yes. Well, exactly. What they say is, they used to say that gods dwelled in underground caves until we explored the caves, and then all of a sudden gods were on top of mountains until we climbed the mountain, and then gods were in the sky, and then beyond the sky when we started flying, and now God is beyond space and time.
Right, it's
How convenient.
We're chasing him away.
So I always say, I hope God is claustrophobic, because those gaps he's been living in just keep getting smaller and smaller.
They certainly are. Okay, coming in.
Almost there.
Number 7.
Coming in at number 7. You just want to sin.
Well, I do. That's true.
All the time.
I won't deny it.
First of all, I hate this word sin. I really do hate this word sin. It's just a made-up bullshit concept. Yeah. Even if you ask a Christian, what is sin? They can't even define it right to you. And the best explanation I have is, what's sin? Is something that God doesn't like. I mean, what does that even mean?
Going back to the original translation, it just means missing the mark.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Let's look at
or just disobeying whatever God has told you to do.
Yep, missing the mark.
Being disobedient.
Look at the 10 Commandments. Am I allowed to do things that are not listed on the 10 Commandments? So I'm allowed.
It's not only the 10 Commandments, right? Like, it's everything in the.
I think there's like 630 different.
613, I believe.
Yeah, but I can still rape and commit genocide, right?
Because it wasn't a 10 Commandment.
No. It. Well, if you rape someone, you might end up like marrying them or something.
Well, probably.
That's right. Pay you 50 shekels, right? Pay you 50 shekels. Okay.
Looks like Kevin and I are getting married.
No, but seriously though. Talking about that.
Oh God.
I was drunk. It wasn't my fault. The beer raped her.
Did you buy him flowers first?
Yeah. Oh no. The beer raped her. That's my excuse.
All right.
Number 6.
Well, coming in at number 6, once they've tried to discourage you and belittle you, it doesn't work, but they'll still come in with, God still loves you.
Yeah.
Because God is all love.
No, but in fairness, like I used to think that way. Mm-hmm. Like when I was like a believer, I used to think that it's all out of God's kind heart, and it's even if you are disobeying or if you're confused or something, but God really loves you.
Mm-hmm.
I used to believe that, like wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I find that to be more condescending than the other one.
Oh, really?
That to me is extremely condescending.
Oh, it's all condescending for sure.
Well, the humanist kind of perspective is like we are the locus center of our of control, right? So really, what that's saying to me is you have to love yourself.
Right? Love thyself first, and then God will love you. So you're pro masturbation, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Self-love, yeah.
All right.
Number 5.
Coming in at number 5, this is one you've always heard, and Tyler, you need to comment on this. You can't have morals without God.
I love this one. This is the best. Yeah.
You can have what?
Morals.
You cannot have morals. If you
morality.
don't believe in God, you're an immoral person.
That's right. Tyler, you go.
Did you see our last debate there, Major, or no?
No.
Me and Kevin?
The one you shared with me?
I had a debate with Kevin last week about the origins of morality.
That was our last show.
No, unfortunately, no.
So
you don't have to listen to it. It wasn't that good.
Nope.
Yeah, he just got his ass kicked. So. I have a question, though. Do rats have gods? Elephants, chimpanzees, bacteria, anything? They don't have gods. I'm guessing it's pretty much well established that they don't have gods.
But you don't know that, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, what if there is a right god?
There could be.
As far as I know, the creationists aren't saying that there's a rat god, and yet rats have morals, as do chimpanzees. So morals are a survival tool. That's it.
Cooperative living kind of idea.
So how come rats can have morals, but our politicians can't seem to have any?
Because they're really big rats.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I mentioned the chocolate chip test last week on the show, which is where you take a stranger rat, put it in a cage, and then put chocolate chips on the floor for another rat to come in. It comes in, and it prefers to share food. So it goes and rescues the stranger and shares its food because that's beneficial for the species. So, and all the stuff that I listed regarding chimpanzees and morals and elephants, But I don't know of any creationists pushing the idea that the rats believe in God or chimpanzees believe in God. So it's basically just an argument from ignorance saying, I don't know where morals come from, therefore God.
Well, they have objective morality, right? Like they've been raised with that kind of morality being the right thing for them.
Well,
and they're
right
totally
in that
lost
sense.
without it.
They're right in that sense, that there are certain things that are just right or wrong, regardless of culture or where you are, and you don't just get to make it up.
Well,
it's the moral relativists that are kind of feeding these religious people and giving them a good argument against it. That's the problem with atheists, is that we disagree on things like that.
I think, you know, we always disagree, right? Like, I mean, we can be like copies of each other, and that's the beauty of
No, we
right?
don't disagree. You're wrong.
See, I think it's a mix of
right there.
It's a mix of objective and like relativistic. I think
What's always interesting in that argument is to watch people's faces, because there's such dissonance. First of all, they think they got you because now you have to. You absolutely agree to the fact that all morals do come from
a source,
from a force of some kind. Yeah. And then as you start to explain how you can have morals without God, they begin to see, oh yeah, I can understand it, but they pull themselves back. Yeah. And while you're winning the argument, they still can't allow that to happen in their own mindset. Yeah. And to see how this is all playing out is more interesting to me than what they're saying. You have to watch very carefully, but it happens absolutely every time.
I think in this sentence you have the crux of exactly why people fight so hard against evolution. Because if they were to admit that we evolve into our morals,
there's no original sin.
Exactly. There is no reason whatsoever for God at that point.
Exactly.
Unless he kick-started it and put it into place like a computer program, which you could argue.
You're not helping matters, Tyler.
And then it's not the Christian God, right? It's not the Muslim God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
God of Spinoza kind of thing.
Number 4.
Coming in at number 4... One day, you'll know the truth, and every knee will bow.
Oh, and that's what that pastor said to me, too. That's exactly what that pastor said that I was talking about, is, you know, you're taking a risk. You're risking spiritual death. If Jesus is what he says he is, which is Pascal's wager, then you're screwed.
It's playing on fear.
Well, that
totally is fear.
And that basically means your God is a dick for not leaving good evidence behind.
What about Cthulhu? We could just make the same argument for him.
Is that the one at the bottom of the ocean?
Anyone.
Yeah, the bottom of the ocean with the tentacles and everything.
Yeah, that's what Richard Dawkins says when that person stood up during their speech and said, what if you're wrong? And he said, what if you're wrong about Cthulhu, the god at the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, what if you're wrong about Odin? What if you're wrong about Thor? Yeah.
Well, hey, no, Odin is actually supported by real evidence because he said that he would get rid of the ice giants, and I don't see any ice giants.
That's right. There are no ice giants. All hail Odin.
Nice.
Perfect.
Number 3.
Coming in at number 3, when they haven't used all these on you already and they're trying to convince you, they'll say, well, I guess you weren't a true Christian.
No true Scotsman fallacy.
No true Scotsman fallacy.
Yeah. But we do it too. When an atheist like Anthony Flew becomes a Christian, we say, he wasn't really an atheist. But
Anthony hasn't become a Christian. He's just a deist.
You know, that's what I mean, though. We say he wasn't really an atheist. You know what I mean?
If you were
a
true Christian.
With that. They just, the guy...
I disagree with that too.
Couldn't understand. He couldn't understand the arguments. He was like, okay, so if I don't understand, if it's too overwhelming, and then therefore God, which is God of the gaps fallacy again.
Yeah, but I can't imagine it. Then it must be something attributed to God. Yeah,
I do agree with you though. It's just that atheists use that argument, and we're not like a people. You know what I mean?
Hold on a sec. I'm gonna have a problem with that because I've bumped into this people that say, "Oh, I used to be an atheist, now I'm a Christian." But if you actually question them a bit further, what they actually should say is, "I never actually gave it much thought." And they equate that to being an atheist.
Are you guys familiar with the term agnostic? As opposed to agnostic.
No, I'm not.
Agnostic, Ignostic, basically means the question. If you look it up on Wikipedia, it's like the question is stupid because how do you ask if God exists if you don't have a good definition? So it's very similar to, like, you know how when people say agnostics are fence sitters, which is bullshit, because I'm an agnostic atheist and I'm 99% sure no gods exist. I've never met an agnostic who is actually on the fence, like 50-50.
Hold on a second. I think right here I'm going to throw a little wrench at you, because I think what a lot of people that's the problem with the English language. There is no authority that defines exactly what words are. There are only usages of word. So when you're using the word agnostic, you're using agnostic as you don't know. You don't really have the knowledge. When people use agnostic, they will say, I'm not sure. And that's how they define it,
But
that's how they use it.
Yeah, it's not 50-50. You can't be an agnostic. You're either an agnostic atheist or you're an agnostic theist. Those are your two choices. That's a true dichotomy.
I still respect the Richard Dawkins scale, although it has its like shortcomings or shortfalls. But I think it's like being agnostic is about knowledge and unknowledge. I'm 50-50, about 50% not sure that a prime mover exists. That said, when it comes to the practical analysis of like, what do you think they're out there? Like, what do you believe in? I don't believe in anything. And I think it's practically reasonable to just dismiss the claim because it's not beneficial in any way.
It's not
if
knowable.
it's not a personal God.
Yeah, it's not knowable.
But the evidence does point one way or the other, which is why I'm an agnostic atheist, being the 6.999 on the Richard Dawkins scale.
I'm definitely more than 6. I can't say I'm 6.999 because mathematically that's a 7. So
I don't think so. I think as long as you're more than 50% sure and less than 100, then you're automatically agnostic. Because I'm not making a positive claim that I can prove God doesn't exist. I'll make positive claims about things that even things that I can demonstrate, like climate change and evolution. 100% not being absolute, but 100% being realistically as sure as you can be.
Yeah.
There's different degrees.
But
like
I am too. I think of myself as a Gnostic atheist about the Christian God, the Muslim God.
Well, because they make predictions.
Yes, they make predictions. They make specific claims that have been disproven.
Yeah, that's
proven wrong.
But the deist and pantheist version don't. You'll have to watch our. We did a show with a friend of mine who runs Answers and Reason. It was called The Agnostic Scale with Chris Pike. You'll have to watch that. That was a really good one.
Okay.
That was a great show.
We always have good shows.
Yep. And I was sober. There was a first.
You were? So you're not now?
Never. Let's go to the next.
Comments of Taylor, not necessarily those of Lecta de Valley.
Kevin's the reason I drink.
Number 2.
Coming in at number 2.
Number 2?
Number 2. Eventually, God will reveal himself to you. It's very close to one day everybody you'll know the truth. Right? It's very close.
Eventually.
Yeah. Eventually.
In 2,000 years from now.
What is he waiting for?
He will show himself in a burnt piece of toast.
Oh, yes. That's it.
There you go.
Toaster. If you speak to the toaster, you have a direct line to God. Yep.
I think did we all used to believe in God? Everybody here?
I did, yeah.
No.
I used to, yeah.
No, you? Nancy?
No.
You were always an atheist?
Always an atheist.
I tried.
It was a concept that just, regardless of what everybody else believed, who was around before me, it just didn't connect.
I can just picture Nancy at like 10 years old saying, "Yeah, that sounds like a crock of shit."
Well, we really didn't talk about it. I mean, I was raised as a Reformed Jew, but more of a cultural Jew than a religious Jew, because my family wasn't all that religious. We never talked about it.
That just sounds like what do you put down for religious? Fuck it.
Jedi.
That's what it sounds like.
I'm a Jedi.
We observed the holidays, and we knew the history of being.
So never
Jew
kept kosher or like avoided bacon.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a show about.
No, we didn't do that because we were Reformed. We could eat anything.
Oh, bacon is awesome.
We gotta do a show about Judaism, because there's so many terms out there like Reformed Jew and stuff, and I'm just like, huh? What does that mean? Does that mean atheist? Or like, I'm a Reformed Christian.
Some of them are actually.
That means I'm an atheist.
We should talk to David Silverman about this.
Yeah.
He just had a debate in BC, actually.
Yeah, so we should bring him on. I love David Silverman.
With that asshole that trashed all the transsexuals and gays and stuff.
Oh, that Milo
guy?
Did you see that? That Milo guy?
No, that was in BC.
Milo. Isn't it Milo?
It was in BC.
No.
In BC?
Yeah. He just had a debate pretty recently. I think I saw.
Oh, I did not see that.
And the guy was saying that being transsexual is a mental disorder, and the suicide rate is evidence of that. And that's that's what Tiffany's brother says too. And I say, actually, people who are persecuted have a high rate of suicide, jackass.
Yes. It's a bit of an interesting correlation.
Okay, number one.
Number one.
And coming in at number one. Anybody want to take a shot at it?
I will pray for you.
That's right. I'll pray for you.
I have to add a couple, actually.
Oh, we only had a top 10 list, right?
Kevin, I'm going to pray for you, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Basically, that means I'm going to do nothing.
I never take that as an insult because I feel as though they're not telling me you should pray for me. They're not demanding anything of me whatsoever, regardless of what I believe
Still calling
or not
you
believe.
wrong.
I always think of what they're saying is, I'm going to do something beneficial for you, and this is how I express it. So it doesn't. It has never bothered me. I've always taken it as a kindness.
I know.
I
still
don't know
find
another way.
I still find it very condescending.
Okay,
really?
Nancy, you know how you disagree with me on certain things, right?
Do I?
Sometimes.
Do I?
In regards to the things that you disagree with me on, because of that, I am going to send you quantum positive vibes that will change your mind in the future. So you will realize that I am right.
Get with it, Tyler. I've been giving her positive quantum vibes all the time.
I can use all the good vibes I can get. Maybe that's why it never bothers me. If someone says they're going to pray for me, I say thank you.
It's just a cop-out. When I say we should have contemporary, non-anonymous, non-biased sources for Jesus, and they say, I'll pray for you. I'm like, holy fucking cop-out.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe call me crazy. I don't see any. There's
nothing crazy about it. You have every right to view it like the way you view it.
Yeah,
right?
there's nothing harmful. That's not.
Oh no, of course not. Because prayer doesn't work anyway.
Me.
Oh, no, of course.
You're not asking me to put a little,
it's
Jesus
just
cloth in my
though.
pocket.
You're perpetuating their ignorance and.
It's a bit when they say I'll bless you, right? And I love Aaron Ross saying I'll magically enchant thee.
You know this doesn't work, right?
I don't know, because
you knock yourself out.
If the person that says I'm going to pray for you suddenly became deconverted and became an atheist, that same person would probably say, I need to give you a hug. I don't know what else to do, but I'm going to give you a hug because I feel bad for where you are, and this is a way I can show you a kindness.
That's real intangible.
To me, it's just a universal kindness.
See, I need a shirt that says, when people say they will pray for me, what I hear is, I will stick my thumb up my butt for you.
Sticking feathers up your butt does not make you a chicken.
Exactly. How many people would that piss off?
Fine.
And it's not harmful. It's
not harmful.
But it's still a dick move.
The visual was not too good.
We are so sorry.
And that's fine.
And then
I guess I've been on the top of so many prayers
that's not
immune to it.
That's not the end, though, because we need to differentiate between stupid arguments, and I deal with a lot of PhD Christians in advanced sciences, physicists, that sort of thing. So, I mean, the stuff that we just listed is pretty common dumbass shit.
Well, yeah, that was the list, right?
So, I do have some friends I'd like to invite on the show that actually have PhDs in physics and stuff. And you remember that friend of mine, Jeff Greenberg? He's the PhD geologist.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to these people about their belief in God, and they use the God of the gaps specifically regarding, prior to the Big Bang. So, I try to say, well, then I guess that means the Matrix is real. But I was recently talking to a very intelligent Christian. He's probably about 70. I think he has a PhD in philosophy. And he was.
What's his name?
I'm not going to mention it on the show in case. But
he
was using the God of the gaps regarding, going back from biology to atoms to quantum subatomic particles to the four fundamental forces. And all those things are, they have to exist simultaneously in order to create life. Therefore, God. And I said, you're just using the God of the gaps and personal incredulity. Like, I don't believe that all of this beautiful nature, animals and stuff, can come from a tiny speck of hot energy. And he just kept defending it, saying it wasn't God of the gaps. It wasn't God of the gaps. And he was being a condescending douche about it. And these are really, really, really intelligent Christians, like Francis Collins and Kenneth Miller. So
isn't that interesting?
I think as atheists we should focus on those arguments more, because it's so easy to just go in and just Mike Tyson punch out Steve Urkel. But we could actually focus on these more common ones that get people trapped.
Well, yeah, but if you're doing the type of show that is appealing to a very intellectual audience, yes. But the vast majority of us are not that high up in the intellectual jargon of talking with PhDs all the time. This is a top 10 of the most common things an atheist hears.
Yeah, most common ridiculous arguments. So that's why I just wanted to include both. I think it's good that we included the dumbest arguments, but I think we need to include the most intelligent arguments. And I've looked for the most intelligent arguments, and I haven't found shit.
And we'll do a show on that for sure. So
Go ahead. Yep.
So ladies and gentlemen, was our top 10 of phrases you shouldn't say to an atheist. Especially those dumb ones.
Something can't come from nothing, Kevin. And you don't have evidence that God doesn't exist, so touche. Touche.
Yeah, that's the argument, right?
Here there be monsters. You're off the edge of the map, mate. Here there be monsters.
I just like everybody to know that something came from energy, because nothing is physically impossible given the first law of thermodynamics. So use that from now on.
On the quantum level, we're all empty space and energy anyway. So,
and the burden of proof fallacy as well.
Well, thank you so much, lady and gentlemen, and thank you, Maged, for joining us on the show today. If people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Awesome.
So if people want to get in touch with you, Maged, where can they find you?
Myself?
Yeah.
Your email address.
Oh, I don't know if he wants
Facebook.
that though.
Yeah. On your Facebook?
Yeah,
they'll find you on Facebook.
Sure, Facebook.
We're not talking. Come to your house for a cup of coffee and a Danish. You know, it just.
I would love that.
When you come in Vancouver, we'll have to do something with you for sure.
My address is 123 Fake Street.
Don't forget. Can you say something for us before you go?
Oh yes. Oh, I can't do that now. I started the music.
You sure can. You just stop the music and edit it out.
Majed, before you go, can we get you to say, "Hi, I'm Maged Soliman, and I took a left in the valley"?
Say it again.
Okay, I'm gonna have to kibosh this entire segment. There you go. Okay, it's perfect.
Let's do it again. Let's say that for you.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it.
My name is Magic, and I took a left at the valley.
Not Magic, Maged.
I changed his name.
Well, yeah, but it's his name. He gets to change his name,
and
not you.
Your name is now Shirley?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Oh.
My name is Maged Soliman, and I took a left at the valley.
Fantastic.
Or I took a left at the... I'm
somewhere else.
I don't know where I am.
Springfield.
This has been a show that is... Oh, well, thank you so much, guys, for this very chaotic show.
It was awesome.
I was hoping to take this show and send it to Joe TV, but I'm not going to do that now. Coming up next week, we have our friend from the Brainstorm podcast, Corey Johnson. That should be interesting. The week after that, we have Mr. Didi, Brian Keith Dalton. And the week after that, we have science educator Cara Santa Maria. Should be very fun.
Oh, yeah.
And by the end of the month, we also have Jem Newman of the podcast Life, the Universe, and Everything Else.
Yeah.
So we got a great month of March coming up. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us at leftinthevalley.com. You can follow us on Twitter at LETV Podcast. Anything else you guys? Email. Send us an email at leftatvalley@outlook.com. You can tell us how much you love us or how much we suck. If you really like our show, we would appreciate a 5-star rating on iTunes. Anything else you guys want to add in?
Beware the Ides of March.
If Kevin lets us all come back, we'll be with you next week.
You can find me at the Facebook group Church of the Basement Dragon. If you want to come on the show and argue anything with us at all, just send us a message and we'll bring you on and I will destroy you.
And may the Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Maged. We appreciate your time here. And we'll talk to you soon. And let us know when you're in town. We'll have to do something with you. We'll have to bring you on the show live.
Oh, that would be great.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure meeting you guys.
Oh, I can't wait to meet you in person.
And Nancy for sure.
Yeah, she's cute.
Thank you, Maged.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye, guys.
Well, that was an interesting show to say the least. Jeez, can't believe you guys. Until next time.
Now let me take a sec, don't mean to sound so hateful, but I swear to God, unintended, I find it disgraceful that thousands of children are raped by priests, and since they're holy men of God, they get away scot-free, and the Pope does his very best to keep it on the hush. Don't wanna affect business, he loves money too much. We know that they love the kids, but how the fuck can we protect them while they planning to molest them? We teaching them to respect them.
Fuck that.
The system is broke down, working backwards, and the only action or tactic I plan to practice now is to attack them. The parties of God's hands are bloodstained, millions of murders by believers, and they're all in God's name. And let me take a sec, don't mean to sound so hateful, but I swear to God, unintended, I find it disgraceful that many atheists are told to be quiet. You're not alone, speak your mind, time to let it be known. I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith and unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist.